You've probably taken an online quiz or read a post that told you you're an introvert. Maybe it made you feel seen, or maybe a little boxed in. But what if I told you that what we think of as introvert and extrovert might be missing the full picture? In fact, many people mislabel themselves entirely. This video isn't about putting you in a box, it's about breaking the box open and understanding what's really going on beneath those personality labels. Welcome back to Psyche Unveiled. So where did all these personality types come from? And why are they everywhere? From job applications to dating apps. It all started with Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist. In the early 20th century, Jung proposed that people experience the world through four main psychological functions: thinking, feeling, sensation, and intuition. He also believed we all have a natural preference for either introversion or extroversion, in other words, where we get our energy from. This was groundbreaking at the time. Jung wasn't trying to put people in boxes. He was trying to describe the different ways human beings naturally see and interact with the world. He believed that by understanding our preferences, we could live in more balanced and authentic ways. But then came two American women, Catherine Cook Briggs and her daughter, Isabel Briggs Myers, who took Jung's ideas and turned them into something more practical. They developed what's now famously known as the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, or MBTI. You've probably seen it, those four-letter combos like INFP, ESTJ, and so on. Their goal? To help people understand themselves and others better, especially in workplaces, education, and relationships. And that's when personality typing really took off. But here's the thing, it wasn't based on hard science. The MBTI wasn't designed by neuroscientists or backed by massive data studies. It was rooted in observation and intuition. That doesn't make it useless, but it's important to understand that it's more of a tool for reflection than a scientific diagnosis. Modern psychology has since introduced other models too, like the Big Five personality traits, which many psychologists today consider more scientifically reliable. These traits, openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism, are measured on a spectrum rather than putting you in a fixed category. Still, people love personality types because they make complex human behavior feel simpler. They give us language to describe things we already feel inside, like why some of us need alone time to recharge, while others light up in a crowd. Understanding where personality typing came from helps us use it wisely. It's not about labeling or limiting ourselves. It's about having a mirror to reflect on how we operate, and maybe even how we can grow. The truth is, most of us don't live at either extreme. Instead, personality is more like a spectrum. Some days you might love being around people. Other days, you crave silence. That doesn't make you broken. It makes you human. There's also something called ambiversion, a term used for people who fall in the middle. Ambiverts can switch between introverted and extroverted behaviors, depending on the situation. And get this, most people are actually ambiverts. So if you've ever felt like you don't fit perfectly into the introvert or extrovert label, that's totally normal. So what actually shapes your personality? Personality psychology is the branch of psychology that tries to answer that question. And over the years, researchers have learned that personality is not just a fixed trait you're born with. It's a mix of biology, environment, and experience. Let's break that down. First, there's your genetics, the stuff you inherit from your parents. Some people are naturally more reactive, more cautious, or more outgoing. That's biology doing its thing. Your nervous system, your brain chemistry, even your sensitivity to dopamine or cortisol, they all play a role. Then there's your upbringing, how you were treated as a child, whether you felt safe, whether you were encouraged to speak up or told to stay quiet. These experiences shape how you learn to interact with the world. For example, maybe you were naturally social, but you grew up in a household where you were constantly criticized or ignored. Over time, you might have learned to keep to yourself. That doesn't mean you were born an introvert. It means your environment helped wire you that way. Then there's culture. In some places, being quiet and reserved is seen as wise. In others, it might be seen as rude or strange. What's considered normal varies depending on where you live, who you're surrounded by, and what's valued in your community. And finally, there's your life experience. Big moments, trauma, heartbreak, loss, success, love. They all shape who you become. Maybe you were once shy, but life pushed you into leadership. Or maybe you were outgoing, but heartbreak taught you to be more selective. Psychologists often use personality frameworks, like the Big Five traits, to describe these patterns. These include openness, how curious and imaginative you are; conscientiousness, how organized and disciplined you are; extroversion, how much you seek social stimulation; agreeableness, how compassionate and cooperative you are; neuroticism, how sensitive you are to stress and emotions. Everyone has a unique mix of these traits, and none of them are good or bad. They just reflect how you tend to respond to the world. But here's the key takeaway. Personality is not fixed in stone. It's flexible. It grows with you. You're not stuck. So instead of asking, "What type am I?" maybe ask, "Who am I becoming?" Because personality is not a box. It's a pattern. And the more aware you are of that pattern, the more power you have to shape it in ways that align with your values, your growth, and your purpose. Now let's talk about something important: labels. They can be helpful, but they can also trap us. When we hear a label like introvert or extrovert, it gives us a sense of identity. It can feel comforting, like, that explains why I feel drained after parties, or now I know why I love being around people so much. But here's the catch. We start to believe that's all we are. You might hear someone say, "I can't do that. I'm an introvert," or "I'm just not a deep thinker. I'm more of an extrovert." And just like that, we put ourselves in a box with a lid on top. Labels become limits when we use them as excuses or when we let them define us too narrowly. The truth is, personality is fluid. You might be introverted most of the time, but still enjoy speaking at events when you care about the topic. Or you might be an extrovert who loves parties but also needs alone time to reflect. And let's not forget, people change. Life experiences, relationships, trauma, healing, spiritual growth, all of these can shift how we show up in the world. Just because you leaned one way in high school doesn't mean that's your final form. Here's the deeper danger. When we believe the label too strongly, we stop growing. We stop challenging ourselves. We avoid things that scare us because we think, "That's not for people like me." But what if it is? What if being an introvert doesn't mean staying small? What if being a thinker doesn't mean you can't learn empathy? What if your personality type is just the starting point, not the destination? Labels should be like trail markers, not fences. They can help guide us, but they shouldn't trap us. The goal is to understand ourselves better, not limit who we can become. Let's talk about where this really hits home. How understanding your personality type can actually affect your relationships, your work, and your personal growth. First up, relationships. Ever felt like someone just doesn't get you? Maybe you're an introvert dating an extrovert, or you love deep one-on-one conversations and your partner wants to go to every social event. Understanding your personality type and theirs can help you meet in the middle. For example, introverts often need space to recharge, while extroverts get energy from being around people. If you don't know this about each other, you might misinterpret those needs. One might feel rejected, the other might feel smothered. But once you understand, it's not personal, it's just different wiring, it gets easier to build respect and compromise. The same goes for how we express love, solve problems, or make decisions. Personality awareness helps us stop assuming others think the same way we do, and that builds real emotional intelligence. Now let's talk about work. Have you ever had a job that drained you, even if you were good at it? That might be your personality clashing with the environment. For instance, introverts might thrive in roles that involve deep focus, writing, research, or one-on-one mentoring. Extroverts, on the other hand, might light up in leadership, sales, or team-based projects. But it goes deeper than introvert or extrovert. Someone high in conscientiousness might love planning and organizing, while someone high in openness might crave creativity and change. When companies understand personality dynamics, they can build better teams and create a healthier work culture. And when you understand your own personality, you can choose work that aligns with who you are, not just what pays the bills. And finally, personal growth. Here's the truth. Personality types aren't boxes. They're mirrors. They show us where we naturally lean, but they don't define our limits. If you're an introvert, it doesn't mean you can't speak in public or lead a team. It just means you might prepare differently or need more downtime afterward. When you understand your type, you can play to your strengths without judging yourself for your weaknesses. You can also stretch yourself, slowly and intentionally, into areas that help you grow. The question isn't, am I really an introvert? The better question is, what does my energy, behavior, and growth tell me about where I am today? Personality isn't a prison. It's a window, a way to understand yourself better, not confine yourself. You are allowed to be both quiet and bold, reflective and expressive. Who you are is not a type. It's a story, and you get to write it, edit it, and rewrite it as many times as you want. So, are you really an introvert? Or are you simply a complex, evolving human being, still discovering what brings you alive? Thanks for watching. If this resonated with you, consider subscribing for more deep, clear, and practical psychology content. We'll see you in the next video.